Hello, Jason Rice here at Lotpop. I'm going to do a quick video tip, only because this one shouldn't take too long. But Steve Everhart, one of our guys local here in the office, so we're talking about a dealer strategy going over the next few months here. And this dealer was thinking about stocking up some inventory. He was talking about the election year and things like that. And, I mentioned to Steve, I said, hey, do you know what that means for the election year? And we've been watching these trends over the time, and anybody in the car business probably remembers this, but it's about every 4 years, is these politicians eat up all the advertising in the market. And so tends to be things start slowing down a bit, and you can correlate it with advertising dollars on election cycles. So what happens is it's hard for the OEMs, but it's even harder for dealers if you do print, radio, TV. I know that's not a lot of activity now, but it also works with SEO, SEM marketing, and retargeting and stuff like that. These election years, advertising gets real expensive, and then it tends to slow things down sometimes for dealerships. And really what you got to do is look at your local market too when it comes to the election year. Is there really tight races? Is it going to be very controversial races? And that's where a lot of the attention and advertising dollars start flooding into those markets. If you're in a market where your mayor's been there for 20 years, no one's really competing against them, it might not happen. Then you're just competing against national advertising budgets and stuff like that, but it does affect sales. Matter of fact, I'm going to try to find an article and a stat. I should have done that. I can't usually share it on the screen as I go live, but I'll try to share it in the comments of historical trends like that. We see historical new car, and it's mostly new car sales because that's where a lot of OEMs advertise, and providers like Auto Trader, Cars.com, Car Gurus. I know like Cars.com will associate with certain events, Auto Trader like with March Madness, things like that. But those dollars start getting tighter in election years, and you usually can't spend as much, which then minimizes traffic to those sites. Obviously, as a dealer, if you got a SEO, SEM money, and you're doing certain keywords that are all dealer related, not so much obviously election cycle related, you tend to be fine. But again, hello, what's up, Jeremy? But again, if you do any still print, radio, TV, it also, and the OEMs rely on a lot of that, it gets tighter. So we're going in an election year, and we're going into, it's going to get worse and worse as the year goes by. I'm talking over the next 12 months, obviously, it's going to get more intense. But we're also talking about a dealer who, so get prepared for that, because he was going to want to start ramping up right now, but also some dealers start ramping up in October, November, buying in. What I mean by ramping up, they're buying used car inventory and holding it to the tax season in January, February, March, hoping that they've got these cars cheaper than what they're buying. It could be buying at the lane for in February, March. We tend not to, I was warning him to warn the dealer that tends to obviously not be the best strategy, because you've got $1 million or so that you're going to hoard and put $2 million or $1 million in inventory you're going to hoard and hold out on. Some of them will allow those cars to trickle through and just replenish them, but they're hoping to make some buck when it happens. And I said, I'd rather miss some of those opportunities, especially if things go wrong, then try, because here's the thing right now, obviously we're going into election year. That's going to affect some of it, a little bit. And I think it was a couple percent drop in sales, like 1 or 2%. But again, that's big when you're talking, millions of cars. But the other thing is, you've got all talk, and again, this is talk. This ain't, I'm not trying to scare any dealers, but obviously the talk of the recession, or talk of this oil attack, where half the oil was wiped out. And so gas prices and stuff. So if you do a strategy like that, you don't know what over the next 4 to 6 months looks like when it comes to this recession talk about bubbles popping, and or what affects this crude oil effects going to do to gas prices. Now, this dealer that talks about buying and hoarding, Honda dealer, I think. So you're looking at good cars. So, I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, if the gas prices go up and you're stocking a bunch of Accords and Civics and cars that have very reliable and good gas mileage, maybe it'll work. If the gas prices jack up to back to $4 a gallon or something, I know we're dipping into our oil reserves and hopefully not going to affect us as much, but never know. And if the recession hits, what are customers going to do? Customers got out of those SUVs and got out of those gas guzzlers and go into smaller, more affordable cars with better gas mileage. So again, you might get people getting out of an Explorer going into a Civic or an Accord type of thing. So they're going to want, if the recession hits, if people are still going to be buying cars, they're probably going to be buying a reliable, cheaper, better economy car and being a Honda store. He might end up being in a good position, but those are just risks you got to take. And I always rather be a current buyer. I'd rather be a buyer to current market values then roll the dice. And yeah, you might miss out on some pops like this, but I almost would rather miss those pops than get caught red-handed if something goes sour. But thinking it through his the kind of inventory he carries, again, it's kind of maybe a good thing if gas prices do go up. The type of cars he's going after probably would be better, and or if the recession hits, again, the kind of cars he's probably going after will be better too. So even those risks are there. Those are probably the two biggest risks in the election, just kind of floating out there that might slow things down. It might be worth the risk. So can't say no. And when you look at it that way, but also to me, I just don't like tying up $1 million or $2 million in inventory and having that holding cost stack up. Just because even if you can buy it $1,000, let's say you buy it now in November, and then come February and March when everybody needs inventory because sales are up, and they're paying $1,000 to $1,500 more in March than you did in November. When you look at holding costs, it's a break even. If you're $30-$40 a day, and again, you held on to that car for 90 days, let's just do $30 on the low end times 90 days. You're talking $2,700 in holding costs. And you go, well, I own them $1,500 less than they're going for the lane. You're still 12 in the hole. So again, I don't like the hoarding part of the business. I could see where it makes sense to him possibly. But watch it. And I posted a video from last year talking about how dealers kind of hit a wall. And at the third week, going into the third week of September, we had a little trickle through in September, and but things are starting to slow down. I posted a video from last year at exactly the same scenarios that's happening right now. Wholesale values are still kind of high because it's a hangover from July, August selling. And so wholesale is still high because guys are trying to replenish. But if things continue to slow down, what they typically do, we're seeing shopper counts dropping in all of our markets, which it's a typical thing. But we're also seeing inventory levels because we track how many inventory are available for sale in those markets. And we're seeing a 10-15% increase in cars available in the market because guys are buying cars based on July, August sale rates. So they're stacking up. But then the shopper count's dropping 10%, and there's going to be less shoppers. And then so if this continues, which it typically does year after year, by October, wholesale values should drop again. But by then, you're slow, so you're needing to drop your price. You got 40, 50-day-old cars that you bought at the beginning of September that you paid July, August numbers for that you don't want to get off of because you're taking a hit. So you need to make sure you get these cars that you're buying now and get them moving because November – directionally, wholesale should be going down a bit because guys aren't buying because they're trying to get September, October and get these cars moving that they bought in September and August. And so watch that. And then by that time that's all over, we're going into the holiday season. And then you're going into, again, the beginning of the election year, going into where, again, advertising dollars. And again, I think it's a 1 or 2% knockoff on new car sales. When you look at election years, 1 to 2%, but when you talk to millions of cars, that's quite a bit. So keep an eye on all these current trends. We kind of understand where you're coming from. If you need help, want to reach out, jrice, lotpop.com. Go to lotpop.com for your evaluation. I just shared another link about our Lotpop University. If you want some hands-on 2 days training, you don't have to be a client. We'll be able to pull your data, sit down with you, show you appraisal, how to price, the metrics you need to be measuring and tracking, and help you go back to the store to manage this inventory better going into slower times. I hope this was helpful. Check out these YouTube videos on Lotpop Inc. on YouTube. Subscribe and do some likes. That way it keeps building up the presence out there. Appreciate your time.